Well, good evening. Welcome to Piers Morgan Uncensored, live from London. Sounds very difficult to be young in today's world. Barely a day passes without stories of profound woe amongst our youth. Kids' mental health is in crisis, we're told. Anxiety and depression rampant among children. There's even a child anxiety epidemic right here in the UK, apparently. It all sounds very alarming. It's also a bit confusing because, generally speaking, the world is getting more prosperous, less poor, safer. There are fewer wars. People are living longer and healthier. It should be that young people feel quite happy, actually. Now we've come through the pandemic, they should be, but they're not. And social media probably has a lot to do with that. An entire digital world of vipers exists where self-esteem can be measured directly in likes.
How can he say the world is getting less poor? We're going through a cost of living crisis and everyone is struggling.
I don't know the ins and outs of it, so I don't know. I can't sit here and verify it. I think that what he's getting at is that the media sensationalizes things, and I think one thing I do believe is the world is safer today than what it was like 50 years ago, 100 years ago. I think we live in safer times, even though a lot of the media you see is really crazy. But that's all besides the point. I don't know if we're getting rich or poor or whatever. But what I do know is that, what I think I know is that they are making out like everyone's got mental health issues these days. Everyone does. Everybody thinks they have some sort of mental health condition. You speak to anyone today and they're like, oh, I've got this, I've got that, I've got this, I've got that. I'm just like, everyone I speak to is dealing with some shit. I'm just like, I can't be the only one. I cannot be the only one that is like, I don't have any mental health issues. I have not suffered with depression. No. What the fuck are you doing? Well, you can't just do that whilst we're filming. What are you doing? Are you just laughing? Oh.
I need to sneeze. But it's gone. Sorry.
So fucking annoying.
I agree with you though, but I do think we are living in a time where everyone does have something wrong with them, because I think all of these mental health issues genuinely are stemming from social media.
You think all of them? Oh, I would agree a lot of them probably are.
Well, I wouldn't say 100%, but I think majority definitely from social media.
I definitely think social media affects children's self-esteem. I think obviously they get exposed to a lot of things they shouldn't be getting exposed to. Yeah. I think that they interact with a lot of people they shouldn't be interacting with. Yeah. And they see a lot of like that Jeffrey Marsh and Dylan Mulvaney. Those. So yeah, social media is definitely a contributing factor.
Because you're just exposed to a lot more.
Yeah, and as we've said before 100 times, TikTok is literally cancer, and children are just all over that thing.
I will say it time and time again, I don't think TikTok is the biggest problem. To me personally, I think the biggest problem is Instagram. You think
Instagram's a bigger problem than TikTok? Mm-hmm. I think Instagram is definitely getting there. Every time I sign onto Instagram is there's worst. Some crazy shit. Do you know what? Instagram is actually, maybe you're onto something. I think TikTok is still worse because it feels more personal. The way that the creators talk to people, and these people that like diagnose others when they don't have anything. Yes. I see that more rampant on TikTok, but on Instagram, I'm just getting videos of people getting killed. If it's not someone getting run over or set on fire, it's some thought that has appeared on my screen for the 100th time, even though I won't click on her shit.
Okay, I agree with you, because when thinking of TikTok, I wasn't thinking of it in terms of the creators that are on there talking to people. It depends on what side of TikTok you're on, because there's so many different sides of TikTok. But I was looking, the reason why I say what I say is because I look at it like this. Instagram is full of a bunch of people trying to look their best, trying to show off this lifestyle that they're pretty much really not living. It's full of edited pictures of people. It's full of just fakeness, and that's what makes people feel like, oh, how is this person always on holiday? How has this person always got these clothes? How does this person look so good, etc., etc., etc. But you can't believe what you see, because half of it's not real. Whereas TikTok, I find TikTok has a lot more normal people just doing silly stuff on there. Like, going on TikTok makes me realize how much funny people there is in the world. Like, people have top tier humor. And I just find TikTok, the side of TikTok I'm on, is just a lot more fun and funny. And then if it's not that, then yeah, I've got videos, like motivational videos coming up or God videos coming up and things like that. So for me, I'm not exposed to anything negative on TikTok.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, it makes sense, but I think maybe we shouldn't focus on our algorithms and maybe just focus on what TikTok's intentions are. And as far as I'm aware, TikTok is basically Chinese spy software. I mean, algorithms will feed you, I guess, kind of things you're looking at. Like a lot of the things on my Instagram, I know I've been copied off TikTok. They've come from TikTok.
Yeah.
But my Instagram is just full of people in Thailand like tripping on bananas and shit. It's just dumb shit. And then every now and then some Instagram thought will find her way in there.
But perhaps there's a bigger problem here, and it's us. We ghastly adults who at some point decided we should teach children to be mortally offended by everyone and utterly terrified of everything, and that they could win at everything and never lose. Fresh from ransacking Roald Dahl's legendary children's stories, so-called sensitivity readers, God, that phrase just fills my skin with horror. Doesn't it yours? They make you just literally sensitivity readers. I've now said about cancelling, you guessed it, this.
Come on, Plum, throw the ball! I've got it! Oh, Spotty, what are you doing in my pea soup?
I used to love the Bass Street Kids and the Beano. Those mischievous little rogues in Britain's best-loved comic book. They were always problematic. It's why I like them. I like them being problematic. They've entertained children for 67 years without complaint. You know what? Kids can be problematic. I've had 4 of them. The consultants from Inclusive Minds, the very same people who censored Roald Dahl's books, have quietly decided there needs to be some...
I don't understand what the problem here is.
I can't even think of what the problem could be there.
I've been staring at the screen for, since he said that, thinking to myself, where is the issue here? Who are these fucking sensitivity readers? Who are these goofballs? What is wrong with you people? They're going to have the shit that kids read today, that they're fiction, and the stuff that's on TV is so depressing. Like the stuff we had was good. We had some good shit when we were growing up. We had Are You Afraid of the Dark, Goosebumps, Dennis the Menace, Courage the Cowardly Dog. Shit that they got now.
Are you talking about books?
Books and TV shows.
It's weird. I was talking about all the old TV shows I used to watch when I was younger just last night.
Yeah, we had some good stuff when we were growing up. The kids today, and including their books, it's just dog shit. You know, it's funny. They want to introduce sensitivity readers to these problematic cartoons where the kids are being mischievous, because kids are not mischievous. But they're very happy to show kids books of other kids performing things that only adults should be performing, and talking about corn and how it's okay to watch it, and talking about how it's okay to be Jennifer today and fucking Marco the next day. I don't understand. Where are the sensitivity readers then? Maybe we could actually use you there. Instead, you want to get on Beano and Dennis the Menace and other things that Roald Dahl has produced and any other author. I just don't get it. I really feel like the inmates are running the asylum. Like there's just idiots that have taken over, these woke morons, and they've completely just bastardized everything. I'm actually just at a loss for words. I don't know what they're gonna bring to the table in terms of nerfing this or censoring it. I can't even wrap my head around it.
The Beano now takes professional advice from its committee of Fun Police, which has helped to rebrand its characters and vet its back catalogue. Spotty, who was called Spotty because he's spotty, is now known as Scotty. He's still got spots, you just can't say it. And Fatty, who was called Fatty because he's a fatty, is now known as Freddy, even though he's still fat. We just can't call him that. The kids have been joined by 5 new pupils, including Harsha, Mihira and Mandira, in order to be more inclusive. Mandira is featured in storylines about mental health to apparently highlight the anxieties facing children. Perhaps they should do one about Mandira being warned that her friend Fatty is offensive. This is from the same set of geniuses who changed cloud men to cloud people in James and the Giant Peach and decided the black tractors in Fantastic Mr. Fox could not be described as black because it was potentially racist to other tractors, presumably.
This is insane.
Are they talking about a tractor like an actual car tractor that you sit on?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
It doesn't even matter if it's not a tractor. It could be a fucking, I don't know. It could be anything. This is not a problem. This is not a problem. Oh my days. You know, if you keep telling kids that they have mental health issues and you keep on representing mental health in a cartoonish light, guess what? The kids are going to think they have mental health issues, you fucking morons.
Yeah, this is exactly what people don't understand, is that whatever you are teaching kids or you are letting them consume is what they're going to want to do, think, follow, believe, etc. So if I say to a kid, when you grow up, you can grow apples in your belly, they're going to grow up thinking they can grow apples in their belly. It's a dumb analogy, but...
Oh, we've managed to convince children that they can swap genders, so apples in your belly appearing doesn't seem that crazy.
Yeah, so if you start telling a child, it's okay not to be okay. Like, I'm talking a child, not a teenager, a child who doesn't understand what it's like to not be okay. They're gonna just grow up being all sensitive. Like, they're gonna be scared to go down water slides and just do normal kiddie things because they're just being placed in this bubble wrap.
You're not letting them be kids.
Yeah, the world is not a very nice place.
The world is a nice place as well, though. There's a lot of beautiful things.
There is a
about
lot of beauty surrounding the world, but we do live in a world that's quite harsh. And these kids are not going to be able to handle it when they grow up because of the way they're being treated now. You know what I'm saying? We had to learn the hard way. Yeah. And now we can handle things a lot better.
Yeah, it's just not like telling children up is down and left is right. But you know what? Before we continue watching the video, this actually reminds me. I had a conversation with this stupid girl. Because we're in this space now, every now and then I'll have somebody that I know in person approach me about a video that we've done. And we got on the conversation of Dragon Ball Z. Mm-hmm. Just because we're talking about cartoons right now, and anime would fall under that bracket, just for people that are looking at animations. We started talking about it, and she was saying to me that she thinks that Dragon Ball Z is a bad influence on children. The reason she said that Dragon Ball Z was a bad influence on children is because all it teaches is toxic masculinity. The big bad alien, Vegeta, comes down to Earth and gets into a massive fight with the other alien, Goku, right? It's two big dudes with big muscles smashing themselves into walls and whatever, and it's just teaching young boys to fight. But the idiot didn't sit there to understand the story and understand the message behind the story. And a lot of the time with these shows, they're showing children that you should stand up to evil and that you shouldn't let people push you around like that. There are good messages in a lot of these cartoons before they've been touched by these sensitivity readers or sensitivity watchers. But she thinks that gender ideology should be in school. These are the same kinds of people. The stuff that she was echoing about Dragon Ball Z is the exact same shit these guys are. They're focusing on Spotty and switching him to Scotty, but they don't care that little Timmy over there thinks that one day he's going to be able to chop off his penis. I don't know what's going on right now. I really don't. I'm genuinely confused. I would love to speak to a sensitivity reader. I'm actually worried that my brain cells will get fried listening to them though.
Any sensitivity readers watching the video, please comment.
Yeah, please do. I would love to have a conversation with you. I promise I won't cuss. I'll be sensitive.
Now, there are 2 points here. The first is about censorship. If we continue to rewrite every work of fiction based on today's sensibilities, you're going to have to keep doing it every 10 years until you're left with a sanitized slab of nonsense that bears zero resemblance to the original. The context of when something was written is part of what makes it informative and interesting. The second point is this. We heard a hell of a lot less about child anxiety when Fatty and Spotty were on the loose because they were considered to be funny then. It was a joke. It's a cartoon. If we genuinely want our kids to feel happier and less anxious, maybe we should stop teaching them constantly that the entire world is out to get them. Show them how to be less offended by absolutely everything. Stop allowing them to all get a prize in everything they compete in at school, so they all think that they're winners when sometimes they're not. Because none of that is a proper preparation for the real world. The one that in Barbie Land is such a shock to Margot Robbie when she gets to it. The real world, I'm afraid, is warts and all. It can be tough out there. So why don't we prepare kids for how to handle it rather than cover them in cotton wool?
Do you know what's funny to me? I remember a time when everybody hated Piers Morgan. Everybody hated this guy. Now we live in a time because the people against him are so stupid. Like I there's words that I want to use that I can't use on YouTube, but they are so dumb. They are so backwards. They have lost the plot completely, and most of them do belong in a mental asylum. You've made Piers Morgan a hero of the people.
Piers Morgan looks like the hero.
Piers Morgan looks like Batman right now.
I think he is the hero right now.
He's one of the only rational voices with a podcast or a show that big on YouTube that is reaching that many people in the UK that I can think of right now. We don't have a lot of them. There's not a lot of them. You took Piers Morgan, who people on the left and the right did not like, and through your own stupidity, made him look like a fucking hero. It's astounding how you've managed to do this.
Piers Morgan gives me hope that people still think logically and speak sense. But with regards to what he said as well, I think that this is the truest point, is that because kids don't really know left from right from wrong, back in the day, having a spotty and a fatty, no one was going to get offended because it's not being installed into them that it's offensive. Whereas if you're teaching kids that this is now offensive, that's where the problems lie in, because you're showing them
there was nothing offensive about it.
You're I can't explain what I want to say, and it's getting me very, very frustrated.
It's okay, I understand. You're at a loss for words. Sometimes I tell on the TV I'm at a loss for words as well. But you know another thing? They are like giving medals to everyone now. Everybody's in first place. These kids have no idea.
Oh no!
Yeah, you get a participation trophy. Back when we had sports day when I went to school,
first, second, third.
There were winners, there were losers, and that's it. That's it. And you know what? The kids that figured out that I need to do a little bit more to be a winner, the next time sports day came around, they did better.
Exactly. You know that. So let's say you have a child, and you take your child bowling. Your child's about 6.
I'm gonna whoop them.
No. Forget about you for a second. Your child bowls the bowling ball, and it hits nothing. It goes into the little side bit. Are you gonna be like, yeah, well done, that was so good? Or are you gonna be like, no, that was shit, do it again? When you hit the balls, that's good. You know what I'm saying? But some people are like, yeah, well done to their kids when their kids did very bad. And it's like, no, your kid's going to grow up to be a loser unless you teach your kid how to be a winner.
Yeah, I would say to my son, look, this is what you did wrong. This is how you get it right. And he'll keep on doing it until he gets it right. And when people do things right, you reward them. You don't reward them for doing something wrong.
Yeah.
So if he gets the pins down, I say to him, oh, you get the pins down, I'll buy you an ice cream. Or you get the pins down, we'll go watch a film or something. Or, I'll buy you a video game or whatever. But he doesn't knock any pins down. You still reward him. Do you not understand what that's teaching these children?
I get it. But I also don't know if I'm just being insensitive because I haven't got a child. Because when I have a child, like, I think I'll just be so like, oh my God, my little baby.
You can't do that to them.
Like, oh. Imagine you tried to say to my kid, no, that was shit. I'll be like, no, it was so good.
No, I wouldn't say it's shit. You don't have to be horrible to the child to teach them right from wrong. If your kid if we went bowling and they didn't knock down the pins, I'd say to them, look, buddy, you can do better than that. I'll show you how you can do better than that. It's fine, no problem.
And then what if he cries?
I'm going to say, listen, put my arm around him. Listen, champ, there's no crying over bowling pins, okay?
Daddy, you said I'm rubbish.
Who said he's rubbish?
You said it.
You said it's your kid.
No, but if it was your kid.
Hey, he's not saying daddy nothing.
Daddy, I'm sad I can't bowl.
You should be careful how many times you say daddy.
Well, I'm joined now by broadcaster and former Brexit MEP Alex Phillips, Talk TV contributor and lawyer Paula Rowan-Adrian, and political journalist.
For fuck's sake.
Why?
Why have you got this woman on there? She's so dumb.
Do you know, I just know she's going to be on that side of, this is so great to be giving children these sensitive things. Like, she's going to be that. I'll be very, very surprised if she's on our side.
What's the other donut that he has on here all the time? The guy in the pink shirt.
James,
what's it called? Bum or James Bath or some shit like that.
Don't know his full name, just James.
I'm surprised he's not there, man. Her and James, 2 peas in a pod.
I brought up 4 kids. I'm not perfect by any means. I mean, nearly perfect as a father, probably. But this sanitizing of everything, this overprotection, this wrapping in cotton wool, this nobody can lose, nobody can be called any funny names in cartoons, blah, blah, blah. It's exhausting. And B, all it seems to be doing is increasing the amount of anxiety in kids. All the figures show the situation's getting worse, not better. I would argue this strategy hasn't worked. It's had the opposite effect.
Yeah, it's utter madness. I mean, what we seem to be doing as a society now is making our kids into little hypochondriacs to worry about everything, to police their own language at the time they should be learning how to develop their communication skills, to see everything through the prism of race, to see everything through the prism of gender. And then at the same time, the things perhaps we should protect them from, adult fetish, pornography, we're foisting upon them at an alarming rate. And I don't understand what children are supposed to be anymore. Are they supposed to engage with this adult world of critical race theory and extreme adult content?
100 genders.
There is no more innocence. Safeguarding has gone out the window.
Very good points.
Facts. She couldn't have said it any better.
I just don't understand how people don't see it. And there's parents that are doing this as well. These stupid parents. I'm sorry, I don't give a fuck. You are happy to police your child from watching harmless cartoons like Ben 10, but you're very, very happy for a stranger to teach them gender ideology. Please explain that to me. Someone explain that to me. That makes no fucking sense whatsoever.
I just don't know how the parents and adults of today have been brainwashed and gotten to this stage of, you know what I mean?
I know how. I know this is going to sound like we are up ourselves because we don't have our own kids, but from what I can see, there are a lot of people that have children that shouldn't have children. A lot of lazy people out there, and do you know what? They get the iPad to do the parenting for them. They stick their kid in front of an iPad. They don't know what the kid is looking at. And then when the teachers are, oh, we should do X, Y, and Z, because they don't actually have any parenting skills. Shooting a child out of your vagina does not make you a good parent. Because you have no good parenting skills, you just listen to whatever the goofball teacher tells you. And so you accept gender ideology. Well, the parents that have their head on their shoulders screwed on tight, they understand that this stuff is fucked up. They have some sort of control over what their children are doing online. And then they're less worried about protecting them from Goku and Vegeta and more worried about protecting them from adults that are telling them that they can be Samantha today and Tony tomorrow. That's what's going on here. It's lazy parenting. If you're letting your child be exposed to these Jeffrey Marshes and Dylan Mulvaney's, but then you're concerned about cartoons, you're a goofball. You're an idiot. I'm sorry to say, there's no other way to put it.
All right, Paula, we've discussed a lot of these issues, all right? And I get that some kids are anxious. I've met quite a few kids who have a lot of anxiety problems. I think a lot of it is social media driven. I think a lot of it is dopamine driven, that they're exposed through social media to a constant barrage of imagery from wars and other things, which we simply would never have seen when I was a kid. So I think that cannot be overlooked, this constant sensory overload impacting negatively. And yet all the statistics will show young people, if they're calmly explained, there's never been a better time to be alive, actually.
But the statistics will also tell you, Piers, about the suicide rate amongst children, about how their mental health is suffering, about how children are being bullied, both personally and online in the social world, social media world. And so when we look at the Beano, what surprised me about this story is that we weren't applauding what the Beano were doing. We weren't, saying, we weren't championing what they were doing, which is to stop children from calling each other names, because that's not appropriate.
Well, you think it's going to stop because the Beano stops using names? I mean, come on.
But, yes, I do actually, because it's teaching children that it's not appropriate. And you call somebody by their name, which is Frank, John, Paula, or Alex. You don't call them Spotty. You don't call them Darky. You don't call them Fatty. You call them by their name. And so what you are doing but what the Beano is doing is acknowledging that it's anachronistic in its style and that it shouldn't be, that it should be taking responsibility for providing a positive message for children. Stop being mean, children.
I disagree with her completely. I think it's fine to poke fun in cartoons about things. They did it in Ed, Edd n Eddy. They done it in Looney Tunes cartoons. They did it in Tex Avery. in this show, in Dennis the Menace, you name it, cartoons have been doing it. You think that's the only way you're going to teach children to not call names? We had these cartoons when we were growing up, and we learned to not attack people, right? Children do it as they're stumbling through life. You'll say something insensitive, and then if you have a good teacher, they will teach you right from wrong. And when you get home, if you have parents that are actually paying attention, they will teach you right from wrong. They'll teach you that you're watching a cartoon or an anime and you're not supposed to punch your friend in the face. You're not supposed to call that kid fatty, but you can make jokes and stuff. Like then there is a fine line here. And because they're too lazy to do the work, right? They don't want to do the work. They just want to sanitize everything.
I understand the point she was getting at, but I don't think it stands, because if a child was watching the show and they've changed to normal names now and they've never seen that show before, they're not going to be looking thinking this is teaching me not to call people names, because they were none the wiser that anybody was even called a name before that. If they watch this show and he's now called Tony or whatever, they're never going to know that he was called Fatty anyway. So it's not actually teaching them anything. They're just watching a normal show. That's how it comes across to me.
Do you know what? A lot of these shows, they'll do stuff at the beginning of the episodes, and then by the end of the episode they've brought it full circle and it's like got a good message behind it. That happens a lot with old school cartoons and even old school animes. You'll be watching something and it'll start off and you'll be like, why are they doing this thing to this person? And then it will come full circle and there's a message behind it and you're like, oh, that was really well told. But the kids don't have stories like that anymore. There's no nuance in their stories. There's no foreshadowing or payoff or anything. It's just sanitized BS. Do you know what? I saw a clip from a Transformers cartoon, and the Transformer was talking about pronouns. The fucking Transformer. The thing that turns into a truck.
Of course. Morgan, can you switch,
Nightshade's pronouns are they, them.
He or she just doesn't fit who I am.
My apologies. Please switch their piece.
And fights the Decepticons is talking about pronouns.
Sometimes it's just unnecessary. The point of cartoons and shows and stuff is escapism. It's to take you away from reality in the real world, so you don't need to always implement what's going on in the real world into cartoons. Like you're saying, why does a transformer need to be talking about pronouns? It's not necessary. Let it be an unrealistic show that kids enjoy as escapism, taking them away from the real world. Everything's just too serious these days and you can't actually enjoy anything. And if they really want to teach kids about things like bullying and stuff, then make the concept of the show about it. Make the guy spotty and one other character saying, oh, you're spotty, and him, and then have a message behind it of going, like another character saying, you don't treat people like that. And then kids will watch it and think, that's right, I don't treat people like that.
Yeah, because the storytellers used to be very good at telling stories in a less sanitized way, right? They would do things that will make you second guess yourself, and then they're like, oh, that was the message behind it. And sometimes you look back on it as an adult and you're like, oh, that's what they were trying to tell me back then. But the stories today it's just hogwash. It's just nonsense. These people are just lazy. That's all it is.
It's just a lot being forced on people as well.
Yeah, but the trouble is, life is tough, Ava. Life is very mean. You know, I always remind people of the Rocky Balboa speech to his son, who's a spoiled, entitled brat in the 6th movie. And eventually Rocky loses it with him in the street and says, look, life is hard. It will beat you down, right? And the challenge of succeeding in life is how many times you can get back up and keep moving forward. It's not how hard you can punch. It's about how hard you can get punched and keep going. We know this. And my argument is, I think we're just not preparing kids properly for the real world. And trying to create this kind of Barbie-style utopia where no one's mean, no one uses mean words, all that kind of thing, means you basically have to airbrush now every work of literature going back in history, because it was all full of mean stuff.
No, I think you're
it
being
was.
overdramatic. Come on.
From Roald Dahl to the B-Note, they're all getting censored.
Right.
But I don't get it. I don't get any of it works.
I think it's quite obvious that parents probably don't want to sit down in 2023 and read a bedtime story to their child about, Fatty and Spotty. I think it's probably market.
I do.
Hang on, I think it's probably market forces that have dictated it, and you love the free market, and I think they've probably looked at it and gone, do you know what, not really being consumed anymore. Why don't we try to get this, somehow purchased and back in schools, back at bedtime? And this is how they've responded.
But let me throw this back at you. My daughter she's 11, she calls me Fatty all the time, right? And does this to me all the time. Good, it makes me go to the gym. Did that this morning.
That's very, very different.
I was
from
actually
reading her
Barbie
bedtime
pressing this
story.
morning to female trainers. I mean, this is how I flow. But the point is,
do you know what it is? The kids are going to come out of school. They're going to be exposed to the real world. They're not going to have any of the the layers that you would have to something like this, where, like, for example, in like a boys group chat, in one of my group chats, a day does not go by where we are not at each other's necks. But everybody in that chat knows that that there's nothing but love between those people, right? And you learn that coming up, like reading stories like this, learning how to communicate, like forming your language and forming the way you communicate with people, and understand that like there's loads of different ways to say the same thing, right? I would not call you the names that I call maybe my friend Jamie, because I know that the dynamic that we have is very different, and you learn that through communicating with multiple people from multiple walks of life, and they've all had their own experiences, and they've all come through school, stumbling through it, basically, learning how to communicate with each other. But what they're trying to do in school now is confuse the children, not let them communicate freely, and force them to read things that are not even grounded in reality. Like, mean people exist, right? And people that like making insensitive jokes exist. But the things that they're teaching in school do not exist. They're not real. You can't be me and I can't be you, right? I can't grow a set of tits and you can't grow a dick, right? It just can't happen. You'll never know what it feels like to be me, but they're telling these kids that you do. If you wake up tomorrow, you'll know what it feels like to be. All the experiences I've had as a man, you'll know.
Tomorrow, I identify as Michael.
Yeah. We're going to call this channel Rubbish Midnight. Oh, this feels weird.
Damn, this feels weird.
Wait, let me try to be
I think this would actually confuse people if one day they clicked on a video and we were swapped sides like this.
Wait, I'm trying to be you.
Do you want some tissue?
Hi, guys. Everyone's great. The world is... I couldn't even begin to imagine what it feels like. How do you stand here?
How do you sound it? This is actually quite cozy, actually.
Yeah, I love can I get my spot back? Okay. Could never be me. Anyway, the point that we're getting at...
Oh, this feels weird now. I like that side better.
You prefer this side?
A little bit, yeah.
Well, you're not a
safe
man.
Over there.
This is a man.
I'm on the side next to the door, so if anyone breaks in, I have to defend Michael.
We'll switch genders at that point.
I'm not offended when she does that. I think it's funny, right? It used to be you could laugh at stuff like that. But what we're now in a world where Cosmopolitan magazine, one of the most influential magazines for young women in this country, puts a £305 model on the front cover and doesn't mention anywhere in the text, either on the cover or inside, that this is morbidly obese and very dangerous.
Okay.
We celebrate being incredibly fat. But if you dare to use the word fatty in the Beano about a fictitious character, all hell breaks loose. The sensitivity police get called in. It all has to be changed. Explain to me how that is good for society or good for the well-being of young women who think that being £305 when you're 5'2" is a great thing to be.
Do you know what? Piers makes a great point. This whole body positivity movement celebrates people that are spilling over their jeans, right? And I understand. I'm not shitting on people for being overweight. There's been times where I've been overweight. I just come from the cinema. I had 2 brownies. I feel overweight right now.
Oh, 2?
2 brownies. They were both shit. And then my brother gave me mozzarella sticks on top and I couldn't say no.
Oh, I could do some mozzarella sticks right now.
But my point is that we celebrate people being fat and people being obese, people being morbidly obese, right? 300 pounds for a woman is not normal. And yet we have them on the magazines. But if you call them what they are, which is fat, right? They are fat. Just the same way that if you saw a skinny girl in the magazine, you said, oh, she's skinny, she's slim or whatever, that's what she is.
But people are somehow allowed to say skinny, but you're not allowed to say fat. But you're either fat or you're skinny.
What I don't understand is that how are we getting sensitivity readers to change Fatty's name to whatever they did?
Scotty.
Oh, that was Spotty to Scotty. But I think Fatty was...
Frederick?
Frederick?
Freddie.
Something like that.
Freddie.
And then you have someone like Lizzo on the front of a magazine, someone that looks like her, and that is celebrated. Shouldn't there be sensitivity readers there saying, hey, maybe we shouldn't put somebody that their body is going to fail on them at a much younger age, because young people are going to look at this and think that this is okay. Yeah.
It's almost as if they don't want to or can't or are not allowed to celebrate fit people. Or someone with a in shape body you can't be celebrated because you're now putting down people who aren't like that.
Yeah, they're trying to sanitize hard work as well. people that wake up early and go to bed a little bit later because they've been working hard all day, the people that do the bare minimum are given participation trophies. Oh, you did well today. No, you didn't. You lazy slob. You sat on the couch all day. You did fuck all. It's another day that's gone by. You're one day close to the grave and you've done nothing with your day. That's what you should be saying to them. Don't give participation trophies to lazy people. Do something with your life and then you'll be rewarded for it. It's that simple. And that's what these children need to be taught. That you do stuff, you get rewarded for it. You do nothing, no one gives a fuck about you. That's the way the world is. Because the minute your kids leave school and they have this idea that everyone's going to care about what they have to say and what they're doing, even if they're doing the bare minimum, is going to be shattered. And then your kid's not going to have the mental wherewithal to deal with it. And then maybe we'll actually have a real mental health issue because the kid's going to have a crisis, not knowing what the hell is going on. My whole world is shattered because you were too lazy to just tell them that they sucked at something and need to be better at it.
It's body positive. Because no one's got the gumption to go, sorry, you are morbidly obese, you're going to die. And by the way, if you all want to be this fat, you're all going to die too.
But then we should have done that for the models who were 80 pounds and 6 foot tall, who were on magazines for 20 years and gave, the whole world eating disorders.
I said the same thing about the Size Zero campaign. I said that was wrong too.
There was never any warning on there of how women achieve that body frame. No one ever talked about the smoking. No one ever talked about the drug taking or the excessive dieting. None of that ever appeared in a magazine. And Piers, I guarantee your daughter, when she calls you fatty, and you have that lovely little inside joke.
You're not calling fatty.
No, but you have.
She's allowed to, you can't.
But when you have a good joke about it and you're having, this nice, lovely moment, I guarantee you didn't teach her that word. That's probably something she's picked up and now you enjoy and you have a nice laugh.
Yeah, she's picked it up.
You didn't teach her that.
She's picked it up because actually, kids do that kind of thing. They're kids.
Well, Ava's talking shit, first of all. There's a whole documentary called The Dark Side of the Ring, right? Because wrestlers' physiques used to get, they do get celebrated a lot. Right, what are you laughing at? What's so funny?
Because it tastes like weed.
Your water tastes like weed?
Yeah.
She's saying that we never used to bring these things up, right? These people that we would celebrate their physiques, whether they look like Hulk Hogan or they were 80 pounds and underweight. But I could have sworn that they were talking about underweight Victoria's Secret models for a long time. They were saying that there was there's some sort of abuse going on there. These girls were like chronically unhealthy. And again, there's been loads of documentaries on wrestlers and steroid abuse and all these things. No one thinks it's good.
I think that is true, though.
What's true?
About the Victoria's Secret models.
What?
That it is sort of, it's unhealthy. And as well, things like that is what does bring on mental health issues for a lot of girls because they're ruining themselves, trying to become so skinny so that they can do this job because they're told they're too fat. Like a lot of models along the years were told, like I'd be told I'm too fat. Me. You know what I'm saying? They would tell me I'm too fat. That's how bad it is. So people are making themselves ill and sick just to be a model.
No, and I understand that. I've heard those stories.
Yeah.
But what I don't understand about Ava is that, I agree with her. That's also fucked up. So how does that doesn't justify what's happening now?
Yeah.
All that's happened is the pendulum was over here and it's just swung this way now. So where we weren't doing anything about these girls that were gorging, that were making themselves throw up to be a certain way and not eating properly and dehydrated, now it's gone all the way this way where they're eating way too much and we're glorifying them for it. Maybe both are wrong and there should be a healthy middle ground. How is that your point? That is such a dumb thing. So because we did something dumb here, we do something dumb over here?
People in this day and age are just constantly looking for a problem within anything. If it's not broken, don't fix it. And people are trying to find problems to act like they're making a change to the world and making things better, but they're actually just making it worse. Like nothing was broken before. The world was circling around fine. You don't need to fix anything or change anything.
I disagree.
Oh, damn.
I think the world was broken. I think they broke it more. I think the world's a beautiful place. I think there's a lot of beauty to be found in it if you go looking in the right places. But there's always been problems that need to be fixed. But what's happened
Not
now,
these problems.
No, they've created problems and they've continued to create more and more problems. So where there were problems before and they might have been broken, they've smashed it to pieces now.
They're creating problems out of nothing.
Yeah, they're creating problems out of thin air.
Yeah, so the problems that they're doing is things that wasn't broken before and they're trying to fix it. But what you're talking about, yes, there's always going to be problems, but in the sense I'm getting at is things that's not an issue, stop trying to make it an issue when it is never an issue. We've look at us and our generation. We've coped just fine, and we're still coping just fine.
But they like to tell us that we're not, that we're suffering.
I'm suffering because of what life is now becoming.
We're suffering because the fucking politicians take our money, not because we think we're the opposite gender or fucking Spotty's offended me.
Yeah.
Right? They're not going to stop because the Beanos changes everyone's name.
You taught her that word, wouldn't it? If you were at bedtime and you taught her that word from the Beano book, that would be a bit strange.
I just think I've tried to teach all my kids, just don't worry about... My mother always told me, we talk about the patriarchy. I lived in a matriarchy with these wonderfully strong women in my family, my grandmother, my mother, my sister, my daughter's inheriting the same thing. And it's just that sticks and stones will break your bones, but words will never hurt you. You're very much a, never mind sticks and stones, words are far worse. They're not. They're literally not.
And you know that that's not true.
I do not know it's true.
I think that's a really dangerous theory to push.
No.
We know that words hurt. We know that because our law recognises that fact, that people are often mistreated with words and that it can impact on their lives. We know that bullying, which doesn't have to include physical attacks, when we're talking about a verbal assault on somebody, can often have the same threatening and intimidating effect as it could if you were physically assaulted.
I know, but my point is...
If you say if you say you know, then we need to acknowledge that, because they are viewers watching this who think it's appropriate to stand over a partner and shout abuse at them in their face, or to even whisper it in their ear.
I don't know there's any viewers. My viewers are not those sort of people.
She thinks that verbal assaults are worse than physical assaults. Is she high? I'm not saying that verbal assaults can't get bad. I'm not saying they can't lead to bad things, but no. Physical assaults are almost always worse. If we're talking about children, physical assaults are almost always worse. Coming to school and getting your ass whooped by everybody is oftentimes worse. And a lot of the times kids don't know their own limits. So they go a little bit too far. So no, you're just wrong. And for the most part, in day-to-day, physical assaults are worse. If someone walks down the road and calls me a monkey, it might hurt my feelings. Someone walks down the road and punches me because he thinks I look like a monkey, that's gonna be worse. What planet are you born on? I could walk down the road and 10 people can call me a monkey. I'm gonna get home. I might be upset when I get home, but I'll be fine. I'll get home. I'll have dinner. If those same 10 people all throw 10 haymakers at me, I might not go home.
But it also does depend on how sensitive you are, though, because if I was walking down the street and 10 people said to me, you're the most ugliest person I've ever seen in this world, like, that's it.
That's it. Random people saying you're ugly.
Yeah, but 10 different people, then it must be true if 10 different people said it to me.
Oh,
and then that's it. I'm not leaving my house. I'm not leaving my house.
Sabi, we're on a planet of 6-7 billion people.
But why do 10 people?
Because people do shitty things. You think 10 people calling you ugly is worse than all 10 of them punching you in the face?
No, absolutely not. You're right in that. You're not wrong in what you're saying. I'm just saying it's not that words can't hurt, because words can, and some people it hurts so much that they do take drastic measures.
Yeah, no, like I said, I know verbal assaults can be bad.
Yeah.
But her saying...
But it's not worse than physical, I agree. Yeah.
Physical is a whole other level.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I would hope I'd hope that they're not.
I have a discerning audience.
I'd hope that they're not. But Sadiq Khan recognises that abuse can be verbal as well as...
You're never going to persuade me that verbal mockery and stupid phrases is ever going to come close to physical violence.
Well, maybe Meghan Markle might be able to do that.
Meghan Markle dishes it out like everyone I've ever seen in my life. She thinks it's fine to call the royal family a bunch of horrible, racist scumbags and make hundreds of millions of dollars. You never complain when she does that.
But you
only complain if people say how disgusting.
But you say that is not appropriate, and that's exactly the example that I wanted you to give.
No, you're missing my point completely.
It's appropriate to use language
but you're not going to sanitise the world, Paula. You're not. You're not going to stop people being mean.
We don't have to sanitise the world.
Is
we
a
can
mean
teach
place.
people to be kind.
All right, let's teach people.
Kindness.
What about teaching people to just state the bleeding obvious?
Oh, because we can't teach people to be kind any other way than just sanitising art. These people have lost their fucking minds. Why has it gone so bright on you? If we leave it up to these sensitivity readers, we're going to be in the upside down. Nothing's going to make sense anymore. I'm going to be over here, Sabi's going to be over there. I know you guys, you're sitting at home like, oh, what the fuck is going on?
All bamboozled.
in all honesty, though, it's quite sad to see where things are going. It doesn't seem like it's going to stop anytime soon because the powers that be seem to be in favor of this shit because I don't know. I think there's a part of me that thinks that these people have so much money and time that they're just fucking with us. That they're seeing, oh, how can we fuck up society now? Let's just watch the fucking puppets dance on their strings. You know, when you've got all the money and the power in the world, you just fuck with people, right?
Yeah.
And these donuts.
I've seen Hostel.
Yeah, and these donuts are just playing along. They're just playing along. So if there is a sensitivity reader in the comment section, if you know a sensitivity reader, please send them over to us. I would love to have a conversation with them because this makes no sense to me. As a matter of fact, I would love to invite them on here to have a conversation face to face. By their logic, all the anime that I've watched, I should be fucking people up by now. Sabi's not even safe standing here. I mean, if we're gonna
Why
watch,
me?
well, you're standing right next to me, and I watch a lot of violent shows. Apparently,
I
just finished watching The Boys, and
Is that good?
yeah, it's great. Don't spoil it me. I'm only on season 1. But
Anyone who's seen The Boys, please spoil it for Michael in the comments so he can know what it's like for all the spoilers he gives.
you can't really spoil it for me because I just won't read the comments on this video. With all the violent media I have consumed, you should be scared right now. By their own logic, I mean, I was not told that you're not supposed to punch people in the face directly by my parents when I was watching anime. The anime made it very clear to me because the storytellers were allowed to tell a story back then. Now, they can't. Instead, they're too busy telling kids that pronouns are ze, zim, they, them, they, ze. Whatever, man. Fuck these sensitivity readers and whatever else they are.
I ain't got anything else to say. Turn the camera off. Give up the
No.
shoes.
No. That's what you do. No.
No, I don't. Absolutely not.